But let's just flow. While I'm flowing, let's keep it going. Listen, round 2, 3, and 4, AJ was on his back foot. He was trying a little bit more, getting a little bit closer, but still walking into jabs, still bolt rigid upright, no real head movement. He started to throw feints round 2 and 3, started to get a bit closer, and he actually started to catch the ball with the odd jab and the odd right hand. But he was still getting bullied, he was still being pushed about on his back foot. He lacked ambition, he lacked self-belief and confidence. He looked like he looked in the first 3 or 4 rounds.
What was the difference? Does he really punch that hard? Obviously you shared the ring with both men.
Listen, and then you have one problem, because this position is dangerous. If you wanna do step back like this, not like this, because this is dangerous. We'll see.
Alexander Usyk says Anthony Joshua made a big mistake in leaning back, which IBF heavyweight champion Daniel Dubois capitalized on in his 5th round knockout win in London. Usyk explains that Joshua should have stood with his head straight up and not leaning back, which Dubois took advantage of repeatedly to drop him 4 times. Dubois was coming forward the entire fight, throwing hard jabs and looking to tag Joshua with right hands. Promoter Alex Krassyuk believes that Anthony Joshua's mentality was an issue. He says that Joshua didn't seem to be focused on the fight and that he was making mistakes.
The footwork was the issue, the mentality was the issue, everything was the issue. I thought I was seeing the man who has the face of AJ, but has a completely different inside. I mean, it didn't look the way we expected him to look. It didn't look the way, I don't know, maybe it's the matter is straight. Did you see his right hand? It was all the way on his chest. So his chin was up. And it was like, like a fairy tale for any boxer, not just for Dubois, for everyone.
In a brutal assessment of Anthony Joshua's recent loss to Daniel Dubois, Carl Frosch criticized Joshua's performance, noting his lack of confidence and aggression.
Anthony Joshua walked to the ring and he looked nervous. He didn't look confident. I didn't like the look in his eyes. He was swallowing and he was walking slowly, and it just looked nervous. Daniel Dubois was smiling. Daniel Dubois was enjoying himself, and from the off, I just thought, hang on a minute, I feel it in the air tonight. I can see an upset coming. I mentioned it on my Froch Along, on Froch on Fighting, my live stream, and from the opening bell, Anthony Joshua, I'm not going to take anything away from Dubois and say Anthony Joshua looked terrible, he didn't look right, he didn't look like his head was in it, because that was a fully trained, he's in with Ben Davison, he's coming off the back of 4 wins, and he knows what to do. That was his 6th stadium fight, that was his 3rd time at Wembley, he's been to 2, 3 other stadiums before, so he knows what to expect. It was Daniel Dubois that should have been the deer in the headlights, the guy that should have been nervous, he should have been the guy to start slowly.
Froch believes that from the beginning of the fight, Dubois was in control. He was landing jabs and pushing Joshua around the ring. Joshua was on the back foot and wasn't able to counter. In the 5th round, Joshua threw a right uppercut with his chin in the air, and Dubois landed a right-hand counter that knocked Joshua out.
From round 1, he was getting peppered with a jab, he was on his back foot, he was bolt rigid, upright, chin in the air, he was doing everything wrong. Right up until the point, I'm going to jump right to the 5th round knockout, right up until the point when he threw that stiff uppercut with his chin in the air, he walked into a right hand and he was flattened face first. But let's go back to round 1. He came out, he was on his back foot. Dubois took the centre of the ring straight away and dominated from the centre of that ring, similar to when I fought George Groves at Wembley Stadium in front of all them people. But we're not here to talk about me. Anthony Joshua was on his back foot. He was being pushed around the ring and bullied. Every time they came together, Dubois was having none of it. He stood his ground. They're both around the 18 stone mark. There's only 2 or 3 pounds in it. And Dubois was big and strong and almost as tall, only an inch in it. So very physically evenly matched.
Froch believes that Joshua has lost his desire to fight and doesn't have the hunger that Dubois has. He also says that Joshua isn't in good shape anymore and can't recover from punches.
The difference for me was Dubois was a young, hungry lion. Okay, AJ's an old, wise old fox, 35, what is he, 35 years old, Dubois 27. You'd expect the old, wise fox to beat the hungry young pup or lion, but Daniel Dubois came in like a world champion. Okay.
Furthermore, Frosch criticized Joshua's tactical approach to the fight. He observed that Joshua allowed Dubois to dictate the pace and rhythm of the contest rather than imposing his own style. Frosch also emphasized the impact of Dubois' pressure and physicality on Joshua. He pointed out that Dubois was able to use his size and strength to bully Joshua, forcing him onto the back foot and preventing him from establishing his jab.
Round 2, 3, and 4, AJ was on his back foot. He was trying a little bit more, getting a little bit closer, but still walking into jabs, still bolt rigid upright, no real head movement. He started to throw feints round 2 and 3, started to get a bit closer, and he actually started to catch Dubois with the odd jab and the odd right hand. But he was still getting bullied, he was still being pushed about on his back foot. He lacked ambition, he lacked self-belief and confidence. He looked like he looked in the first 3 or 4 rounds in his previous fights. After being tumped up twice by Usyk, he got daddy, let's be honest, 2 rounds, 2 fights, 12 rounds each, 24 rounds. He probably won 2 or 3 rounds in them 24 rounds. His first fight back was Franklin. It wasn't good enough. It was a bad performance, it was tentative, it was negative. Okay, he was feeling his feet, he was getting back in there after the 2 losses, so he's allowed to have an easy one. But then it was Hrgovic and Otto Wallin, and then it was Ngannou, a mixed martial arts fighter. 4 fights against 4 people who didn't believe in themselves. 4 people that have come into the ring not really looking to beat AJ. They're in there to make up the numbers, to get paid. The old Bunsen burner, that's all they want. Nobody's come into that ring and stuck it on AJ. Got on his face like Dubois did tonight. Dubois peppered him with a jab and lined that right hand up on numerous occasions. The worrying thing for me is every time Anthony Joshua got clipped on the chin, his legs were gone. His powers of recovery are terrible. He looked exhausted. And I'm not going to make an excuse for him because he's been training, he's physically fit, he's strong, he's done his sparring. The camp's gone brilliantly. Ben Davison's been in there with him. He knows the game. He should have been preparing him properly. But this is the problem when you get the silk pajamas. You lose the ambition. You don't want it anymore. And I just question Anthony Joshua's desire to be in that boxing ring anymore.
Meanwhile, Froch praised Dubois for his strong performance, indicating that he has a bright future ahead as the new IBF heavyweight champion.
But I've got to be happy for Daniel Dubois. As a young man, he's 27 years old. He's been given a vacant title. He beat Hrgovic. He got elevated to champion. I don't think you're a world champion. The world champion is Usyk. But by going in there tonight and absolutely detonating that right hand on AJ's chin and putting him on that canvas face first, El Sparko, that's all she wrote, good night Vienna, that for me solidifies Daniel Dubois' place in the world rankings. He is now a bona fide IBF world champion and he deserves another shot at Alexander Usyk.
Meanwhile, Amir Khan expressed his shock over Daniel Dubois' unexpected strong performance against Anthony Joshua.
I think it's a big shock to everyone, you know what I mean? Even though I did think that Dubois has it in him to pull off a massive performance, but the performance he pulled today was very unexpected. No one ever expected a performance like that. He looked strong, he looked powerful, he had all the tools, and yeah, my respect goes out to him, and well done to Joshua as well for took some big shots, but wow, what a fight it was.
Despite taking heavy shots, Anthony Joshua demonstrated commendable toughness, but it was evident that he struggled physically and mentally after the first knockdown.
It gives you that extra energy, but at the same time his legs were gone with that first knockdown. He never recovered from then on. So really, credit to Joshua for standing up all the time, but still you could see he wasn't all there mentally, physically, and his legs were gone, and shame on him because that can happen in any fight. Obviously got caught with some big heavy shots, stood up and took a lot of big shots, but like I said, the referee jumps in and took him out, yeah.
Furthermore, Teddy Atlas reacts passionately to Anthony Joshua's knockout loss to Daniel Dubois, emphasizing the significance of will versus skill in the fight. Atlas notes that Dubois, who had previously struggled, found redemption and confidence in his abilities, which ultimately led to his victory.
Look, you go back 2 fights, Dubois, I said it all week, even though I picked Joshua when guns put to my head, but all week I said, this is a fight of will versus skill. The skill of Joshua versus the newfound will of Dubois. Dubois, 2 fights ago, you could have bought him in a garage sale. I mean, nobody other than his father, his people, his trainer, who deserves a lot of credit, his Frank Warren, his promoter, no one else still believed in him. That when he took those next 2 fights after that to come back, those fights against Miller and then against Hrgovic, I said this all week, he would have took those fights for free. It wasn't about money, it wasn't about a purse, it wasn't about on a record. It was about redemption, it was about his soul, finding himself. It was about looking in the mirror and being able to like what was looking back. It was about being able to walk down the street as a man and be able to live with himself. And when a man finds redemption, when a man goes through the hell that he went through and finds out that he can depend on himself, he can trust himself, that's dangerous. That's real danger.
He highlights Dubois' improved technique and the importance of mental strength, suggesting that a fighter's belief in themselves can be more powerful than technical skills alone.
With Joshua's, and they were in the gym before, the two, Dubois, of course, and Josh, but the trainer also, Don, had a pass with Josh, and they instilled in him that kind of like the art of war, where the battle was won before the war, where he couldn't lose, that it was like predetermined he was going to win. And when a man believes that powerful, again, proof, will beats skill. And tonight, that's what you saw. You saw that.
The fight showcased how willpower can triumph over skill, as Dubois' determination and resilience played a crucial role in his win. Atlas believes that Dubois demonstrated improved technique, using his jab effectively to keep Joshua defensive and create opportunities for striking.
Yeah, you saw right hand, you saw at the end the right hand, you saw left hook, you saw some flaws in Joshua where, he stands straight up, he goes straight back. If you follow him, you can catch, but you saw an improvement too technically. I said that if he technically improves to go along with this will that he has, he's going to be dangerous. And he did improve. He used the jab to come forward instead of walking in the way he did against Herjavec. He backed up Joshua with the jab. The jab kept Joshua defensive. The jab played defense for Dubois, allowed him to come forward safely without getting caught. And then he forced Joshua back, forced him into a bad habit of standing erect, pulling back, and he went with him and caught him. And he kept catching him. And then at the end, give Joshua credit, he came back in that last round. But the funny thing was, he got overconfident. He started landing a little bit. He knew he had to come from behind. He started coming forward, feeling good, and he came forward, he got a little reckless. He went, again, a flaw. Usually guys get hit because of a flaw. What's he do? He drops the right hand way down and throw the uppercut. And what does Dubois? He took a step back, gave him room to make a mistake. When he went to throw that right uppercut, what did Dubois do? He filled the hole. He threw a straight right hand, caught him, and the fight was over. After he had hurt him several times there, but then the fight was over. But really, it came down to who wins, will versus skill. Will always be skill.
Michael Bisping also gives his insight on the fight between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. Bisping goes over the details of the match round by round. In the first round, Dubois dropped Joshua with a big right hook. Joshua was able to get back up but looked bewildered. In the second round, Joshua took more punishment but managed to survive. However, by round 3, Joshua was dropped not once but twice. Bisping points out that Joshua showed heart by continuing to fight, but ultimately he was beaten by the better man.
Every time he got in close to Anthony Joshua, he just unloaded with a ferocious set of combinations. Left hook, right hooks, uppercuts, whatever was there, he threw. And most of the time, it landed hard, flush, on the chin. And AJ's only a human being. The chin can only take so much. And Daniel Dubois hit bloody hard. At the end of the first round, he hit the canvas. He got back up, barely, but he looked a little bewildered. He was kind of saved by the bell because it was right at the end of the first round. In the second round, Dubois put it on him again. This time, Joshua was able to survive. Didn't really take a backward step. Didn't get on his bike. Didn't use the footwork to dance around and stay away from him. For that, tremendous respect for Anthony Joshua. But he stood there, he took more shots, he took more damage, and in round 3, he hit the canvas not once, but twice. It was a terrible night for Joshua. Yes, he showed a lot of heart. Yes, he stood there. Yes, he was willing to trade. He didn't back off. He wasn't a bitch. He fought like a man, but he was also beaten soundly by the better man. It's as simple as that. Then he was dropped in 4, and then he was dropped in 5. And that was it. That was all she wrote.
Bisping talks about what went wrong for Joshua. He argues that Joshua was not prepared for the punching power and the chin of Dubois. Joshua also made the mistake of fighting too statically with his hands down, which made him an easy target for Dubois.
I thought Anthony Joshua was going to get this job done. I thought he'd go out there in round 6 and put it on him. But he wasn't prepared for what Dubois was going to bring to the table. He wasn't ready to weather the storm. And when he did get cracked and he did get wobbled, fair play, fought like a man, but he wasn't the smartest. He still stood there. He was kind of static. The hands were low. The chin was up in the air, and it was ripe for the picking. And that's exactly what happened. He got picked apart. He got dropped. He got battered. He got dominated. Simple as that. It's a crushing night for Anthony Joshua, certainly in front of 96,000 people. And for Daniel Dubois, the world is his oyster.
Joe Joyce reacts to Daniel Dubois' impressive victory over Anthony Joshua, expressing surprise and admiration for Dubois' performance.
I'm lost for words, mate. There was some heavy leather trading, and what a win for Dubois. Like, he hit him with like some big shots and had him in trouble quite a few times there. Yeah, great fight.
You picked him, didn't you, Joe? You picked Daniel, didn't you? I said you picked Daniel to win, didn't you?
I wasn't sure. I thought maybe Joshua with experience might have had the edge, but Dubois showed that he's come a long way and he's leveled up, and that was a great performance from him.
Despite their past rivalry, Joyce conveys happiness for Dubois' success and acknowledges the importance of the referee's decision to stop the fight for Joshua's safety.
I know obviously you shared the ring with him, Joe, you beat him, and you were kind of rivals at the time. I'm sure a rematch maybe could happen one day, but like, are you happy to see that for him?
Yeah, I'm happy to see that because obviously Joshua's always been the favourite, and Dubois obviously come back from his loss and he knows come through. So yeah, I'm happy for him.
The right,
but you have to remember that I beat him first.
right decision from Ben Davison to throw the towel in.
Yeah, he was like, he ate quite a few shots. He ate like some big shots, and the bar could really hit. So.
Thank you, Joe.
Jarrell Miller expresses his strong opinions on Anthony Joshua's recent loss, criticizing the referee's performance. Miller acknowledges Daniel's impressive performance, stating that it reflects positively on his own previous fight against Daniel.
I told you, boy. I told you.
You did actually tell me.
I told you. I told everybody. I got Daniel Dubois in this fight, man. I thought it was going to be a little bit later than rounds. What was it, 5th or 6th round? I picked the 6th round. But like I said, man, the referee was so biased. I've never seen somebody get so many chances. The Golden Boy has now got his ass whooped again.
When should it have been stopped then?
At least after the third knockdown, for sure. He was out of there, and they call it a slip. Now, he was out of his ass. The bell saved him. The referee was trying to save him. But like I said, Daniel took his time again, used his jab, and got him out of there.
It makes your performance against Daniel look a lot better as well, Jarrell.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you, man. Like, he graduated a fight against me. You know, that was not my best. I had a month training. Now I want that rematch. I'll take him or AJ, no matter what.
Is AJ done, though?
I don't know. That's up to him. He's mental.
Or was Daniel just really good tonight?
I think Daniel was really good today. I think AJ had 1 or 2 fights left in him. I love to retire AJ. That's my goal. Love to retire.
Johnny Nelson states that Anthony Joshua, being a 2-time heavyweight champion, cannot make excuses for his loss, emphasizing that he was beaten by the better man.
Daniel Dubois knocked Anthony Joshua down. The referee jumped in and I woke up. So I'm saying this time I'm just telling you what I saw. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. But not in a million years did I believe that fight would end the way it did. Daniel Dubois did everything right and Anthony Joshua did everything wrong. There's no excuses because he's been there. He's worn the t-shirt. You know, he's done everything. So you can't make excuses. It was this, it was that, because he's a 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. He's done everything possible. So he got in there and was beaten by the better man. You know, did he lose or did he get beat? He got beat. So it's a case of how he deals with it, and all the way through. I've said there are no questions to be asked of Anthony Joshua because he's done it all. So and he's turned it round. So now the questions are for Daniel Dubois. Can he do it? Can he take the pressure? Can he not get hit so obviously easy? And so, you know, props to Daniel Dubois, and you know what? It's a shock. It's a complete shock.
Nelson praises Daniel Dubois for executing his game plan correctly and highlights the importance of his coach, Don Charles, in shaping Dubois' success.
And the other thing is this, Don Charles, if there's anybody you want to be happy for about Daniel, it's Don Charles. Don Charles is an underrated coach, and I think this just stamps his position as what he's done.
Fraser Clark discusses the surprising outcome of the Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois fight. Clark points out that Joshua dropped his hands and leaned back during the fight, which left him vulnerable to Dubois' right-hand punches, ultimately contributing to his loss.
You know, I'm going to tell the man how to box. You know, he's done way.
Usyk said.
Yeah, well, the hand position it's just bread and butter, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So I think he'll kick himself for that one tomorrow, but. You know, again, this is Dubois' moment. You know, I got to speak about him. I think he's fantastic, and I sparred with him a few weeks ago, and
kept that quiet.
Yeah. I did a few rounds with him, and even from that spar, it was a really good competitive spar. But I didn't see that performance. You know what I mean? Thinking back to it now, He started the sport fast. He started all them rounds fast. Maybe I should have looked into that a bit, but no, just sparring and fighting is different, completely different world, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So he showed me.
Despite the crushing setback, Joshua remains determined to fight on. His trainer Ben Davison admitted that the performance was reckless, but believes a rematch could be within reach with some key adjustments. If you enjoyed this video, check out some of our other cool videos on the screen.